Hello and welcome to another episode of Noah Grossman Live. I can't get over the theme song. This is the second week that we've used it, and I already feel like it's a part of me that's going to be in every episode. I am over the moon. Is that... people use that? Did only like Al Capone use that? I am over the moon about this theme song. Anyway, that was done by my friend Jesse Aaron. Check him out. He makes some awesome music. So, for today's episode, we are going to be talking about coronavirus testing. I just got tested. We're going to be talking about my car breaking, because my car broke. We're going to be talking about old video games we love, and of course, touching on my app. My new app. I know we talked about it last week, but I am so freaking amped. We're actually going to start on it really quick. Introverts and Extroverts, my brand new Truth or Dare style app. It is amazing. It's built of challenges, a bunch of original ones. I'm sure you already know about this, but download it, play it. The best part is you can submit your own challenges, which then I'm the one that gets to review. So I'll be putting your challenges in the game, and everyone in the world gets to play them. They all see your handle. It's all like, oh, at Jimmy Loves Crack came up with that. Jimmy, I hope you don't love crack. So yeah, my app, the official launch, our big reveal is coming this week. So this coming week, the 18th is a slated date. We might be able to push it a little bit earlier. Originally, we were going to launch on the 14th, but I was able to put together a little video with a bunch of friends, which is really, really cool. Man, friends come in so clutch. Like, I'm someone, it's really hard for me to ask for help. And not that I think, like, asking for help makes you weak. I feel like I'm bugging people. Like, I don't know. I've got a complex where I don't think help is wrong. I'll gladly help anyone. I've got no issues with someone asking for help. But when it's like my turn, I feel like I'm taking things from people. I feel like if I ask you to help me, I don't know. It's a weird complex. Doesn't matter. But quick shout out to Courtney. Quick shout out to Will Haynes, to Clayton Boone, and Devin. You know Devin. But yeah, shout out to those four. Y'all came in clutch. We made a really funny video of us all playing it together. The game really, really works out, which is amazing. Because I've played it in small tests. I've never actually gotten a total of 5 people together all on a video call playing the game. It worked out perfectly. Super fun. Super crazy. Yeah. Check out for that soon. So, going on to coronavirus testing really quick. So, I had to get coronavirus tested this week, because 8-9 days from now, I'm going to be on set working with Smosh, which is unbelievable. Awesome. Excited to do that. But in order to do that, you have to come up negative on your test, and then obviously quarantine yourself after the test. I'm already quarantining myself, but so I had to go take the test, and I was so scared that it was going to be a nasal swab, like the one where they shove it down and they tickle your lungs. They just like go in there and they're like, hey, oh, wow, great phlegm. Let's go even deeper. And luckily, the location that I was at was a mouth swab. It was a mouth swab, which is like funny to me that some people, their local area is only offering deep down into your lung swabs. My area, it was like sucking on a Q-tip. So I hope, I hope it comes back negative, because if it doesn't, number one, holy shit, when did I get it? How did I get it? Who do I have to tell? And when am I going to die? But then, two, I wouldn't be able to work on set, which is super sad, because I haven't seen these people in person. I haven't seen them in what feels at least 3 months. I don't know how long it's really been, but it feels like it's been 3 months since I've been able to step on set. So really excited for that to finally happen. And of course, if anyone is wondering, the set is following all possible precautions and then some. Obviously, like bare bones crew, but everyone is wearing masks and gloves at all times unless you're on camera. Then, of course, you have to take your mask off, but that's the only time. Everyone's getting tested. You have to do temperature readings the morning of. Like, it's really as close to like a military base as you could get, which is great when there's a pandemic going on. I would hope that there's precautions. And it's a little sad that, Smosh has better precautions than most of the states, i.e. Florida, i.e. look at how many cases happened this week in one day. It was like 15,600. Yeah. Past my rant. Stay safe. It's important to be safe because if you stay safe, others are safe as well. So one more quick touch before we get to the meat and potatoes of this episode is my car. If any of you have known me for now 5 years, you know that my car breaks very often. Most of the time, it's my fault. And this time, no different. Albeit I didn't crash into anything or get crashed into. No. But my car's belt, I think it's called like a serpentine belt or something. As I was driving, it snapped. It came off. And apparently along with this, I had a crankshaft leak. Don't know what that means. But my crankshaft was leaking. Well, my crank is coming out. But yeah, so my belt came off while I was driving, and I was in the car with my girlfriend. And long story short, it was really like I was in a movie. You know, when it's like someone cut the brakes and they're going downhill and they can do nothing about it. That's what it felt like, except luckily I was on a flat surface because we were driving, like a couple little lights came on. And then like before I could understand what the lights were, they started to dim. And I was like, that's weird. And then those lights turned off and I was like, that's weird. And then all of a sudden I felt my car stiffen, like the steering and everything, like it was no longer power steering, but it was so stiff. And my car wasn't accelerating anymore, and the brake was so hard to press. So I had to put on my hazards, which thankfully still worked, and like take it and like turn it as hard as I could. It felt like I was moving like a stone hole, like a stone door over a hole or something in a cave. You got to push it. It was so hard, and I barely was able to get over into a parking lot, like. Because I couldn't really brake. I was on the brakes, but it wasn't really working. And I was able to get over to the cars and, like, kind of with speed, like, essentially, like, get into the parking lot. And, like, trying to park, I had to turn this wheel with all of my might. It was unbelievable. It was really funny if I wasn't possibly going to die with my girlfriend in the car. So, yeah. If you see a check engine light come on, trust it. All I'm saying. Now, I really didn't think that my car would break like that. I thought it had a little bit of time before I had to take it in, because I was planning on taking it in. I just had to use it for a couple things. But no, it didn't even, it was done. So I took it in. Sounds like it's going to cost me about $1,400. So, you know, I'll figure that out. The end. All right, now we are going on to the, I guess we'll call it main topic of this episode. So I was on another podcast. I actually can't think of the name, which is really rude. It was by a girl named Tessa. She's from like Canada. She sent me an email, and I'll check my emails. And if someone messages me like, "Hey, like this, you know, I have a podcast. I would love for you to be a part of it," I'll read your email, and most of the time I'll say yes. Like that's just most of the time I'll say yes. And try to set up a date. Because I mean, why not? If you're out here trying to do something and you emailed me and I have the time, let's do it. It was actually a really fun interview. And they got me thinking about something that I haven't thought about in so long. And it made me so happy. And that is the old video games I used to play. Like old video games from like 7 to 13. Like that was the pocket. Maybe even younger, probably like 6 to 13. That right there was the pocket of the best time to be alive in my life. If you were a ghost, a time-traveling ghost, that's what you are. And you get to possess anyone in any period of time. If you're possessing me, man, you should definitely start like 2003 and stop 2011. You know what I mean? Something like that. I didn't try to do the math, but let's just pretend that's what it is. So I got to go through a list of a couple games. And I really want to know if anyone, number one, knows about these games, and number two, has played them. And then three, if you've got any games, because I would love to hear about them and check them out too, if I could still find a way to play them. Okay, so let's hop right into it. Okay, so when I was a kid, I had this little shitty laptop. It had Windows Vista on it. If you know anything about Windows, you know that sucks most of the time. But Windows Vista is by far the worst operating system possibly made ever. Ever. So I was on this horrible Windows Vista laptop playing these games. That's the context. On this little trackpad. Like, I could not play any of these games well, but I had so much fun playing them. Okay, on to the games. Okay, so the first one makes me so happy just to even think about this game. It was called Bots. Bots by Acclaim. Now, if anyone knows of this game, please let me know, because it would make me so happy. Bots was essentially a massive multiplayer, I guess. A multiplayer game where you would create a bot, and you had one of 3 base models you could choose from. One was more like a boxer. Another one was more like it had kind of sword arms, kind of. Another one I think had more like hammer arms or something. And essentially the point of this game is you would level up your character. You would get new equipment to attach to your robot. And you would basically try to level up, make the strongest robot, and beat all the levels. And the levels there were like 100 player versus environment. That's what it's called. I was like, what is it called? There were like 100 of these PvE levels, which is player versus environment. So you would start at, a level 0 level, because you're level 1, and then it goes all the way to the top, because you're the strongest, and only the strong people will ever even have a chance. The best part about this game is it would just be a massive rush of players. It would be like 40 players on a map at once, all trying to work together, or not, in order to beat all of these AIs, these other robots going around and patrolling and stuff. And then we could beat the mission. There was always a boss at the end of it. And if you were alive during the boss, like, you got a special item. It was amazing. But the best part of this game is that your robot would transform. You would fight, and then you'd get like this little bar full, and then you'd be able to transform into this crazy massive robot. Honest to God, a little NGE-like, if I think about it. Just a little bit. But I swear, Bots by Acclaim has to be one of the top 10 video games I've ever played in my life. Enjoyment level. That game, I wish it was back. I think that company shut down in like 2007. I have no idea. I don't know why. It was so fun. God, I wish there was a game like that I could play. So going from Bots by Acclaim, we're going to go down another game that I love. Oh my gosh. These are games that I don't even know how I found out about them. I don't know how I started playing them. All I know is I wish I could play them again. They have such a place in me. Like a physical reaction to even their name. This next game, now I'm 99% sure this is the name, and I gotta know if anyone else played it. I believe it was called Rakion. Rakion. This game was so freaking cool, and I was bad at it. I was the worst. So it was a player versus player, sometimes versus environment, but in, different ways. And it essentially is, so you would be one of a couple different characters, different classes that had different things. There was, this little guy that kind of looked like a weird ventriloquist doll. He was like 3 feet tall. He was the mage. He had these crazy abilities. He could make ice come up out of the floor. He could shoot fireballs. Really, really freaking cool. There's another one that's like a swordsman. He can move quick. He can dash around. There's, a female archer. There's one that's more of like a healer type thing. So it's really, really fun. And this is back in, must be 2006. And this game, it doesn't feel like Team Fortress, but that's kind of what you're doing. There's 2 teams battling, whether it's, instead of capture the flag, there would be like capture the golem. Each team would have this massive golem with a bunch of health you had to defend as the other team tries to kill it at the same time. So you're like going back and forth. Or just a general team deathmatch. Or there were, certain modes where it was like almost like a free-for-all, but the free-for-all was like you would be separated into different rooms. So it was you versus one person, and you would duke it out to win, and then you'd be able to escape that room and go to the main level, where everyone else who already beat their duel was now trying to fight to be the main winner. I hope this is making sense, because God, in my brain, I wish I could be playing this. But Rakion was such a cool freaking game because, number one, I think it was all in Japanese. I don't remember English. And also because the way that the characters interacted was like a game I had never, ever played before. So, like, if you were the mage, number one, there were really cool things that everyone could do. Everyone had freaking such cool abilities. You had, like, a main one, a second one, and those could change with items. And then you had your general basic attack and basic defense. And then also, you could get items that, like, would give you basically soldiers, but they were, like, either, like, wisp entities or other things. Basically, you could just show up and be the coolest dude on the planet. And the reason the game was so cool was the first game that I played where, like, so I would always play as the mage guy, and I loved to make the ice come out of the floor because, number one, it looked cool. But it wasn't just like an attack. Like, you physically added ice to the game on the floor. So it was so cool to actually, like, hit someone with something. And I don't know if that's fully making sense, but the way that the characters interacted, it really was like I was in a battlefield and I could do my magic in any direction. And that's what was cool. I wasn't, like, auto-targeting at people. It wasn't like, send it this way. It was really like, shoot this out, and it's ice that goes forward. Really, really cool. God, I love that game so much. All right, so I got a couple more from my childhood that I hope everyone knows about. And if you don't know about it, Google it. I don't know. This one I think is the most popular one on my list, but of course is Maplestory. Now, you have to know what Maplestory is. If you don't know what Maplestory is, I don't know. Maplestory had to be, like, the most popular game when I was, like, 11 to 15. And it is so fun. Like, you think you're going to hate it, and you want to hate it. Because it looks like, for me, game looks like it's meant for, like, an 8-year-old. But holy shit, does that game have so much to do in it. Like, you would just be grinding. So essentially, Maplestory is like a 2D platformer RPG, kind of. Massively multiplayer. That's the first time in any game that I got married to someone. I got married to someone in that game as a level, like, 21 archer. I was married. That's the point. It was so fun because there were so many classes and so many skills. Like, that is the first game that I've ever played where it really, like, I couldn't do it. Like, it's like World of Warcraft on the level of, like, there are people who have every class, level 100, everything about it. You know, they just have it all. That was a game where I was always so far behind of what was, like, the cool spike. But they would always update it. They'd give you new characters. You could be a rogue. You could be a warrior. You could be a magician. You could be a battle mage with, like, a robot. You could be everything. A ninja. Really, really cool. And I hope it's still around. I don't see why it wouldn't be. Maybe I'm going to become a Maplestory streamer. Maybe I'll just waste my life and stream Maplestory. Honestly, it put a smile on my face, so it can't be that bad of an idea. But Maplestory. Check that shit out. All right. So we're getting at the end of my list. Another old game that I really want to know if anyone knows about is a game called Guns. Guns with a Z. Does anyone remember Guns? Oh my gosh. Guns was so freaking cool. Guns has to be the coolest game I have ever played in my entire life. That shit is cool. I hope it's still around. So Guns essentially is like an MMO type game. Not really, because you build a character, and that character, and you can have many characters, but that character is what you enter the games with. And the games can be PvP, they can be PvE, they can be a combo of the two. And essentially everyone is the most badass Matrix dude. So essentially everyone has guns and a sword. That's your setup going in. And you can have, like, different capes, different armor, different whatever. And they would have stats, you know, damage, stuff like that. So the game was not always balanced, which somehow made it fun. Because you would, like, always get stomped by these much bigger people because they had better stuff than you. But But yeah, it kind of felt like a mythical creature was beating you up, so it was kind of cool. But you would have guns and a sword, and it was so freaking cool. You would run around like you were part of some Japanese Matrix movie, and you would have, dual Uzis running, shooting at people, and you could jump on walls and run on them sideways. You could, like, do flips. Like, you could flip and shoot as you're flipping. And you'd, like, pull out your sword quick. And you could block bullets with swords and, like, run up to people and, like, stab them and slice them. So freaking cool. And, like, just watching a battle happen, on one of the maps, you would die and you would respawn. And before you'd, like, run in, you'd just look for a second. There'd just be, like, 4 or 5 people literally, like, running on the wall, shooting at each other, as this person's, like, jumping with a sword, stabbing them in the back. Like, crazy, crazy, crazy gameplay. And it was so fun. And it was really fast-paced, but it didn't feel like Call of Duty fast-paced, where, like, you were twitching. It was really, really cool. Really cool. And the best part about that game was their PvE, probably the best PvE I've played in any game, where, like, the levels were still challenging, were so difficult, and also it encouraged you to play with a group. So you would, like, have groups going and trying to essentially, like, beat almost like a dungeon run. It was really, really freaking cool. I wish I could play guns right now. I'm going to have to Google it. All right, I got 2 last old video games. I want you to know, I searched so deep. I, like, closed my eyes and I laid down for, like, 30 minutes. And I was like, what games did I used to play? And each of these came to me, and each one with an amazing reaction. There was another game that I would play on my Windows Vista computer called Gunbound. If anyone knows Gunbound, please let me know. Now, Gunbound, I think they have an app now, although kind of sucks. It's essentially the same game, but kind of worse. But Gunbound was essentially like a tank shoot 'em up, kind of. Almost like Worms. A bunch of people would load on the map. You could choose out of, 80 of these essentially tanks, but they're like characters themselves. It's kind of like you're either sitting on a big slug that shoots like slug bullets that explode, or you're sitting on this kind of looks like a blender machine and it shoots out little like mine drones. What I'm trying to say is there was a lot to choose from. Like there were 80 plus of these tanks, each that had 4 separate attacks, each that did different types of damage, worked a different way. They just really found a way to make the simple mechanic of like aim your gun, your power, try to adjust for the wind, and fire at someone else. They made that the perfect version of it. And that game was so freaking fun. So freaking fun. You could have little outfits. I remember that was the first time that I ever like wrote a rude message to someone else online because they were making fun of me. I told them to like shut the fuck up without a U because you can't type fuck. And I remember that moment. It was like the first time that I like purposefully cursed, I wrote that to someone. Big moment. Big moment for 10-year-old me. Gunbound. God. What a great game. All right. And my final game from my childhood that I hope someone else has at least played these. Let me know. The final game from my childhood is a game called Brute Force. This is for the original Xbox. Brute Force. God, I wish they made a sequel. So I believe this was an Xbox official release title. Like when the Xbox was first released, I believe this was one of their main titles, exclusive titles just for the Xbox. So it has to be 2002. Like this game is from 2002. And you play as one or many of this elite squadron. So there's a guy named Tex. He's like he can dual wield things. There's gosh, I can't even remember their names. So you play as one of this elite group of like CIA assassin spies, soldiers that are distributed throughout the galaxy. You like get them together, and then you, as that team, try to take out the Red Hand, which is some basically galactic terrorists and alien terrorists. So what was so fun about this game, not only the world that they built and like the gameplay itself is super fun, and the sound effects are so satisfying. Like I can hear them right now. But the guns were really interesting, and also the characters were fun. So it was the first time I ever played, I don't know what you would call it, a squad-based game. But you would go through, you would start as one of the 3 characters every mission. You would choose who you'd want to be. And as you're going through the mission, you can swap between anyone at any time, no matter where they are or what they're doing. So that was the first time I ever played a game like that, where I could switch between all the characters that each have different abilities, different health, different weapons, different special abilities. You know, this one goes invisible. This one doesn't take any more damage. This one auto shoots her sniper. This guy can dual wield these weapons. So it was fun to play through this weird, slice of time. Like if you play that game, I can't imagine it feeling anything else other than 2002. Not just in graphics and gameplay, but like story-wise and like the difficulty of the game. I mean, there's some of those missions that I would be stuck on for a month before I would beat it. And then I would like play the next game, but I just loved playing brute force. Like, it was so much fun. So as we wrap up this episode of Noah Grossman Live, I want to say thank you for listening. Please make sure to check out my Introvert and Extrovert app on the App Store and Google Play Store. And I really want to know if you know of any of these old games, and also what old games you used to play. What games you would want to put on this list of like the most impactful games in your life. The only one missing on this list that's probably super impactful might be Mega Man X and might be the first Halo. But these 6 here, Bots, Rakion, Guns, Gunbound, Maplestory, and Brute Force. Those games, that's what my heart is made out of. And it probably explains why it's an amalgamation and in an odd shape. But please let me know if you know any of those games, because I would love to hear your experience with them. Anyway, thanks again for listening. This has been Noah Grossman Live. Thanks for listening, y'all.